A few years ago, I sat at dinner with a friend of mine with a table full of people that loved her. It was at a dinner that had been organized for her, and she told me afterwards that she spent most of the evening working out how early she could leave without anyone noticing. So the food was good, the people were amazing, someone said something kind about her, and everyone raised their glass, and she felt nothing. She didn't feel sad, she just felt nothing. She said she felt like she was watching it through glass. And then the second thing arrived, and the second thing was worse than the numbness, and that was shame. Because she said, look at this table, look at this life, who do I think I am? If you know that particular sting, the flatness, and then the guilt about the flatness, then this is for you. And by the end, I want you to understand something about why joy has gone quiet, because it's not what you think it is, and is definitely not a character flaw. So, I want to say the sentence back to you because I know it almost word for word, the issue that people are talking about. This is it. It goes like this. My life is good. I have no reason to feel like this. Other people have real problems and I should be grateful. So that sentence actually gets typed into search bars and posted anonymously thousands of times a day. I have read so many of them. I have worked with so many people that say this exact thing. I just want to feel happy again. So notice what's in there. Again. I don't want to be euphoric. I don't want a different life. I just want to be happy again. So people aren't asking for something they've never had. You're asking to get back into the space with something you know exists because you felt it before and you can't find the door. All right? So, this is what I want to be clear about because we often think, well, I've got all these things and I should be grateful for them. Now, any of you have done my amazing Happiness Baseline course, you'll know that gratitude is an important ingredient, but it's not the only ingredient. So you know you're lucky, you can list it, you do list it, usually while you're lying awake. But that list on its own isn't going to move the feeling, and there's a reason for that. Facts don't reach feelings. You can't argue yourself into joy, all right? You can't. That's not how the machinery works. So what's actually going on? You haven't lost your capacity for happiness. You've lost access to it. And the thing blocking the door is almost always the same thing. Your system has been braced for a very long time. I want you to think about how you've lived. Very often you've been the strong one, the capable one, the one who handles it. Some of you that I work with have been doing this since childhood and doing it really well. And to be able to pull that off, you had to become excellent at not feeling things at the wrong moment. So you learned to put your feelings in a box, to get through the day, to deal with it later, and later never really arrived. So here's what nobody tells you about that skill. Numbness isn't selective. It isn't a setting you can apply to one channel and not to the others. So there have been studies on how people regulate emotion. And one of the clearest findings is this strategy called expressive suppression. That's when you're pushing your feelings down. So in some sense it works. It does reduce, our outward expression of distress. But it also measurably reduces positive emotion. So you don't get to turn down the dread and keep the delight. The dial has only one setting. And you might have had your hand on it for 30 years. So there's also something else. Positive emotions, like feelings like joy and curiosity and awe, they do something very specific. They widen you. So your attention opens up. You take in more. You become more creative. You become more connected. But that widening needs a body that feels reasonably safe. Needs a system that's scanning for threat. If it's got a system like that, It's going to do the opposite. It narrows it. It goes tight and efficient and functional. So what this means is if you've spent years in low-grade vigilance, you're always slightly braced, you're always ready, then your joy isn't gone. Your joy has just been deprioritized because your system has decided survival was the more urgent project. So that's not a failure. That, as I always say, is good engineering under bad conditions. So I think about it like a house with the storm shutters up, all right? Somewhere back there really was a storm. Something happened. Maybe there was a series of somethings and the shutters went up and they worked and the house stayed standing. But the storm passed 6 years ago or 16 years ago and the shutters are still up. And you're standing in a dim room in the middle of the day wondering why the light feels so thin and you're blaming yourself for not appreciating the view. But there is no view because the shutters are up. Of course there's no view. And there's one more layer. And it's the one I see in people who have been capable their whole life. Somewhere along the way, if this is you, you started treating joy as a wage. So something you get paid at the end, once the work's done, once everything's sorted, once you've earned the right to sit down. And because the work is never done, the wage of joy never arrives. Right? I know this because I did this myself. I had a genuine, unexamined belief that I had to be allowed to enjoy my life once I'd finished proving I deserved it. And the finish line kept moving. So nobody's coming with the permission slip. There's no moment where the tally comes out in your favor and somebody says, right, off you go. You can feel things now. So this means the flatness isn't waiting for your circumstances to improve. Your circumstances already improved. That's the whole kind of cruelty of this particular kind of unhappiness. And it's why it confuses everyone around you. All right? But before I go further, I want to be honest about something because I'm not going to be, a little bit careless about this. If the flatness has been there for months, even weeks, if you're not sleeping or you're sleeping constantly, if you can't feel anything at all and it's affecting how you function, that's a conversation that you need to have with a doctor or a professional. Not because you're broken, but because sometimes there's a biological piece and it's really normal to need help with that in the same way you might need help with a knee or a sore elbow. So everything I'm about to say still applies, but it just isn't a substitute for that conversation. Okay? So here's the part that matters, and it's better news than it sounds. When your joy comes back, it doesn't come back as a wave. Everyone's waiting for a wave. That's what the films promise. You'll be walking somewhere and suddenly feel flooded with it and you'll know that you're all sorted. Life is great. It doesn't work like that. It comes back in tiny, almost boring increments. So the first warmth of coffee actually landing, or a dog, which I've got right now, leaning its whole weight against your leg. Or maybe get in the shower and you really feel the hot water on your shoulders. Or maybe there's a stranger in a queue and you find them funny. Very small things, very unglamorous, very easy to miss entirely if you're waiting for the wave. And here's the problem. Most of you are catching those moments for about half a second and then you're moving straight on to the next task because moving on is what you're brilliant at. Okay? So what I want you to do is savor. All right? Along with your gratitude, savor. Savoring is physical. It's staying in a good moment long enough so your body can register that it happened. And it's really good to know this. People's capacity for happiness has a lot less to do with how many good things happen to them and more to do with how long they stay with the good things that already do. So you're not missing good moments. They're just not being let in the door. So here's your experiment. One thing this week. It costs nothing, takes 10 seconds at a time. When something is even mildly good, and I mean mildly, the first sip of your coffee, the hot shower, the sun on the back of your neck, stay in that feeling 10 seconds longer than necessary. That's it. Don't leave immediately. Don't reach for your phone to photograph it or improve it. 10 seconds. And feel where it lands in your body, in your chest, in your face, in your shoulders, somewhere. Let it be registered. So 10 seconds, 3 or 4 times a day. You're not manufacturing happiness. You're reopening a channel that's been closed for a long time. And channels reopen slowly, and through repetition, they open, not through insight. And notice what shows up when you try. You know, for a lot of people, the first thing that arrives is this is a little bit silly, or I don't have time, or something bad will happen if I let my guard down. Notice that. That's the shutter. You just found it. That's useful information, not a sign that you failed. Now, if you're curious where your happiness baseline really sits now, take the free quiz. It's in the description. You'll get a personalized PDF with your results. All right? It's good to know where an honest starting point is, not where you should be, but where you actually are. So just know this. You're not ungrateful. You're guarded. It made sense. It kept you upright. And the shutters can come down slowly, 10 seconds at a time, until one ordinary Tuesday you notice the light is back on in the room. As always, be kind, take care, go gently in the world.